Leggett or Jerry Judy?
Caroline is really terrible. We're already recording, so it's time to discuss F1.
All right. Yes, it is.
We have failed epically to discuss it after 2 awesome races in a row. It is time to discuss F1.
Okay. The points are tighter than I expected to see at this point in the year.
Bro, Red Bull is like lucky to be maintaining their position in the top 3.
Yeah.
They are like dangerously close to being in 4th place.
No, they're not. No. Mercedes has like 150 less points.
Is it 150? I don't think it's even that much. Because like Ferrari has been doing so well too, is the thing.
Continue. Ferrari's above them as of the last race.
Right. Yes, because of the finishing there.
Yeah. Well, why don't we walk through it? We had some races. One of them was wet.
Bro, that race was insane.
Wet. Has it been that long since we've seen like a red flag? I don't know if we're just sort of hackneying this discussion or if we're like going to walk through this discussion.
I just want to talk about like the crazy stuff that happened in the last couple races, and then also some of the crazy driver news that's been popping off.
Yeah, I didn't realize there could still be driver news because I thought everything was pretty much set. And then when I was getting ready for the podcast, I was like, wait, what?
And you were like, who's Franco Colapinto?
No, because he's raced before. Right?
Not in F1. I mean, this wasn't his first race, but the race before it was.
Yeah.
They were like, Sergeant, get out of here.
Yeah.
This guy's in.
Right, correct. But I thought you were referring to this most recent week. I was like, no, this is like his second week.
Yeah, second week.
Yeah, but he's been around Formula 2 and 3. He's been talked about in the we're thinking about bringing drivers up discussions for a little while, but then it seemed like all the seats were closed, and then all of a sudden 2 weeks ago, people were like, Sergeant, get out.
I mean, based on his performance, can you blame them?
No, I would have thought he would have been dropped much, much sooner.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, great. Now we have this Colapinto does very well, right? In that first race.
Sure.
And then this crazy race with all the rain comes, and both of the Williams drivers destroy their cars.
Whoops. I guess we didn't know how to drive, actually.
Which, I mean, you can't blame him for being new. Like, tons of people destroyed their car in that wet race.
How many was it? It was
it was a lot of people that didn't finish. Yeah,
it was only Mexico was the wet race, right?
No,
or Sao Paulo.
Brazil,
Sao Paulo was
Sao Paulo.
Yeah, Sao Paulo was the wet race. I don't know why I was thinking that. There were 5 no finishes in Sao Paulo. 5?
And I think 1 no start, right?
Lance Stroll was a no start. Is that correct?
Lance Stroll started on the grid and then didn't make it around the formation lap.
Yeah, that was the funny one.
But I think also Alex Albon they weren't able to rebuild his car fast enough, and so then he didn't get to race at all either.
Yeah, he wrecked his in the
qualifying, which had been delayed because of the rain.
Yeah.
To the day of the race. So they did the qualifying, he crashed. There wasn't enough time to rebuild it before the actual race.
Poor freaking Sainz wins the race in Mexico and then crashes out the next week, and you're just like, this guy can't catch a freaking break.
I know, dude.
Oh, man.
That wet race was bonkers.
The wet race was bonkers, but ended up with Verstappen still on top, which to me is crazy. Where it's like, Mexico wasn't, I mean, it was good and it was fun.
Yeah.
And Verstappen was in, like, Kevin Magnussen almost beat Max Verstappen.
Right. exactly.
In Mexico. That's Michael. That'd be like me actually shooting while being guarded by any NBA pro player and making a two.
Knocking it down.
Not because Magnuson's not skilled, but because the Haas has no business being up in the middle of McLaren and Red Bull.
Right.
I'm the car in that discussion, not the driver.
Right.
Got
Yes.
Yeah.
And Max, meanwhile, going into that Sao Paulo race, has a 5-place penalty for replacing engine stuff. And then the rain goes wild and messes up the starting grid because like people weren't able to finish laps because people were crashing in the rain. So Max starts in 17th.
I don't love the rules about the replacing of the parts situation because sometimes there's just nothing you can do. It's like they gave us a bad motor, you know.
No, it's not that.
They have to do something.
Yeah,
but it for me, I hate to say that I like this, but I love when it happens to Max because it seems to light some sort of weird ass fire under him, and inevitably he ends up like having the best race of his life. Where you're like, oh, remember, like last season where he was like, will he win all the races, and then he got that grid penalty, and then he was like qualified badly, and he started in 15th and won the race, and you're like, yep, same thing.
The crazy one here is that it just seemed like the whole race, his car was driving with grip no one else had. Like,
yeah, weird.
He would just dive up the inside of every person and then just be like, okay. And then just like, it's like his car was driving on a dry track and everyone else had the sprinklers on.
Yeah.
But like, that's the skill, man. And like, he's just like, I think this race in particular, with like seeing how many drivers crashed because it was so wet, and like listening to the radio calls, like Max talking back to his engineer, who's like, this, he's like using all kinds of curse words and stuff. He's like, this is impossible to drive. I hate this. Like, we're all gonna die out here. Like, what's going on? and then meanwhile, he's still passing people left and right.
Sure.
He can't not race. The guy cannot not race, right?
I mean,
there's no part of him that can be like, all right, I'm just going to take it easy in the rain here. We're going to gain like 5 spots and we'll place like 12th or 11th or whatever. We'll just retire for the day. Like, that's just, he's unable.
He's only ever racing himself, not the field.
Oh, yeah.
Very likely what happens here. And that statement is so true, Michael, because it's like, all the disadvantages that may be happening with Red Bull's engineering currently are immediately negated by the fact that they can only go about half speed anyway.
Yeah. Like, the rain is so strong at a certain point in this race, they have to stop the race because there is too much water. Like, it is unsafe. So they stop the race for a period of time. And that call also, benefited certain people who had or hadn't pitted, right? So like that threw the whole thing into chaos. But at that point, like Max and other people, like all the other drivers were also saying this is too dangerous. And so like Max says the truth. He's like, this is dangerous. I can't believe we're still driving in this. Meanwhile, he's passing people with it's like raining buckets, The dude is just like, you just can't not go as hard as possible. And like, meanwhile, his engineer is like, just keep it on the track, Max. Like, just don't crash. Like,
I was surprised that Ocon and Gasly didn't give Russell a 3rd place or a 2nd place there. When those two get next to each other on the track, usually something bad happens.
I mean, you can imagine their team is like, look, guys, like, the guy is like walking out there, like, ready to like strangle them. He's like, this is our only chance at points for the entire year. Don't screw this up, It's like, they catapult, like, this is the wild, like, Gasly and Ocon on Alpine, that team has been awful, like arguably only better than Sauber, right?
Atrocious.
Horrible.
And the infighting just makes it worse.
Horrible team. They went from last or second to last in this, I think second to last in the standings, to 6th. They jumped 3 spots off of one race.
Just because of one race, yeah.
And unless something goes crazy, they will finish ahead of teams that were like vastly better performing than like Haas, who has done like really awesome this year, is going to lose $50 million to these guys because of this race, unless Haas earns a few more points to jump them again.
There's no more wet races coming up, so I don't know how Haas is going to pull that off, but they got to get 5 points basically to secure.
Yeah, I mean,
50 million.
I think the next one is Vegas, right?
Yeah, it's Vegas and then 2
In the
Middle Eastern races.
Yeah. So, no rain coming.
Haas could do well in Vegas, maybe. But
maybe if they pull a ninth and a 10th or something, and then another 10th and a 9th or something, maybe.
They can't get by Aston Martin. And I did look it up. Mercedes is 382, Red Bull's 544. I mean,
all right, so that's not happening.
McLaren's been running the table so long.
The fact that Red Bull was in a dominant first place and has fallen to third is wild. And I don't think there's a good chance that they take it back unless Checo starts placing right behind.
It's Max. Checo, right? Checo has to do something with the car. He has to, otherwise they're done.
And yet, apparently, they're not kicking him out of the seat. This is the other driver news I wanted to talk about. Why the hell is Checo still in the car?
I don't know. Because when I look at the standings, I expect to see him in the top 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yet he's in 8th. And Nico Hülkenberg's in 10th with, obviously we're talking about a huge point drop between Sergio and Nico. I think Sergio's got he's got 150 and Nico's at 30. So the top 8 drivers, which makes sense, right? You've got 3 to 4 teams that are really competing.
Right.
So there are 2 drivers on each team. So you're going to have top 6 to 8. And Sergio's not even close to Lewis Hamilton, who's in 7th. He would have to win 2 races in a row.
And then a bunch of people not finish in 2nd, right?
Yeah.
He has no shot. He's just again, unclear why he's in the seat. Here's
why he's in the seat. What are they going to put Yuki Tsunoda in the seat?
No, they're going to put Liam Lawson in the seat, who they replaced. The whole point of having the Ricardo reclamation project all year was that he was supposed to take over, right? That's what I thought was happening there. And then they're like, okay, Ricardo actually does suck. We're sorry. And you put Lawson in, and it's this is his job, right?
But Lawson's raced what?
Half a season, and now 3 races if he finishes this out. Yeah.
And last year was what? It was half a season.
Yeah, 3 or 4 races. Sure, maybe you want to let him see a little more, but I can't understand how you don't just let him train up on the 2025 car and then start him in there the beginning of next season. Even if you let Checo ride off into the sunset here, I just don't see it. He's been terrible, Andy, for how good that car. Okay, he's not Max, right? No one is asking him to be Max, but he could be Lewis Hamilton minus and be 8th and 9th. He's in 15th.
Yeah. The thing is, everyone's Liam Lawson. Carlos Sainz was just dangling there for months. And it was how do you not make the play to pull Carlos into the car?
I mean, the only thing I can assume is Max or his dad or someone was we don't want Carlos to come in because he's too good.
Yeah, then we won't have a clear number 1. Yeah, right.
Or
he's playing second fiddle to Charles Leclerc.
I mean, Sainz used to be a Red Bull driver, right? Way back.
Yeah, sure, but that doesn't preclude maybe from coming back. I mean.
But maybe he burned bridges or something back there. You don't know the politics going on.
True. I mean,
or not. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe he just wanted more money, and Red Bull was no.
That could be because they said they wouldn't be willing to sign people for more than X amount of money, right? Because they're probably paying way too much to Max.
Definitely.
Not too much. Obviously, he's worth the money, but too much for their budget to afford another huge signing is what I mean.
Right. There's only so many, driver salaries are exempted from the cap, but, it still costs the organization money.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have a budget outside of whatever the cap is. You can't just have an unlimited amount of money.
Right. I mean, they sent a guy to space on energy drinks. You would think they just have unlimited money, but apparently not.
Yeah. I guess.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The season all of a sudden has gone from like, well, this has been a very boring like procession to the end here to, oh, well, these McLarens are pretty good. Maybe they'll give them a run for our money. And now it's like every week, is it going to be Red Bull? Is it going to be Ferrari? Is it going to be McLaren? What's going to happen? Like, it's actually exciting.
I loved the Ascendant McLaren storyline. I'm not certain that our last 3 races are going to be as exciting. Las Vegas has the potential because of the
jacked up circuit.
Yeah. I was like, because I was gonna say, I was trying to find a nice word for incompetence.
There you go. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when you think of one, let me know.
Yeah, incompetence is right. I think not necessarily the drivers, championship. I kind of think that's sort of done with at this point. It's pretty unlikely that Lando overtakes Max.
Yeah. I mean, unless something really bad happens with the car, and if Max keeps placing in the top 5, he'll probably hold on pretty fine.
I think the points are enough that Lando needs to finish first and get all points from now on, and Max needs to like DNF at least once.
So he has to.
Happening.
Yeah, looking at this, if Max places in point positions, it's going to be difficult. But if he has a DNF or another huge grid penalty and doesn't move up for a couple of races, I don't know. It's possible.
Yeah, I just think it's so wild that the constructors' standings are so close. Like they're actually to the point where like it's not decided. Normally, the constructors' standing was decided like 3 races ago at this point.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Red Bull's not even technically out of it if Checo can show up. I mean, there was like a half a moment there in the middle of the season where I thought all the Checo bashing was like too much, and he started to recover. And when he just was like, didn't show up in Mexico, you knew there was a problem.
Miracles can happen, right?
You think it's a little late now for me to hold out for Sergio. I mean, he got lapped. He got lapped in Mexico, man. That's when he got his Red Bull seat, was when he won Mexico, remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, several years ago. That was his whole, like he's blazed that track.
Yeah. Crazy. Well,
all right. Well, we got it out of our system. Thank you, Michael, for putting up with us.
No.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. I mean,
it was
any questions you have there, Michael?
No, I think you covered just about everything.
Yeah. I mean, at some point you're going to break down and just start watching F1 with us, because there's
Vegas
F1 drama.
Up. Vegas coming up. Stay up till midnight. Watch the race.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I mean, the best the NFL can give us is CeeDee Lamb throwing shade at Jerry Jones over not hanging curtains in the stadium. That's
throwing lack of shade.
You host from now on, okay?
Throwing glare. I don't know. It doesn't really work as good.
Yeah. That's the drama of the NFL currently with the systems that are now in place and all the teams and everything else. It's kind of I don't know. It feels like the Chiefs are undefeated and we're not quite sure why.
Yeah.
It's like tough to look at a team and be like, we'll say that again.
Despite all odds.
Well, yeah, you look at a team like the Broncos playing a rookie quarterback with literally, I mean, Cortland Sutton, I'm sure, is a talented receiver, but he's not a star name, no running back to speak of, basically. I think no one's broken 100 yards at all season. Decent defense. Kicker that apparently, can't get his foot off fast enough, and they almost beat the Chiefs. And you look at the team and you're like, yeah, they look like they're about to lose every week.
Here is a stat that I still find unbelievable. The Chiefs wide receiver with the most yards,
yeah,
is still Rashee Rice. who
Even though he's
went
been
out,
IR for how many weeks?
he went out for the season on like week 3 or 4.
Oh my gosh.
Still has the most yards on the team of a wide
I think
receiver. That is wild.
I think the crazier stat, if I pull it up, I want to make sure I get it right because it probably changed this past week. But you ready for this one? Completion percentages. Tua leads because he's only played 5 games.
Okay.
Then you got the guys who were down and out are now the completion percentage leaders, Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield.
How can that be? Jared Goff just threw 5 interceptions in one game.
Doesn't that count as a completion?
They still won.
Was it
I mean, it's
complete if you
completed.
complete
It's
it
just
to the
not
other
to the right team.
I don't think that counts.
And then you drop to 5th before you get to Patrick Mahomes, who, he's sharing that spot with basically the next 7 players. It's not like he's statistically that far above anybody else in terms of completion percentage for the year.
I think the thing that tells you a lot about like where offenses and where the like league is going, right, is like we all play fantasy here, right?
Yep.
Sure.
If you could pick a quarterback to start, would you pick Patrick Mahomes at this point? No.
Oh,
right?
At this point in the season, no.
No, he's terrible.
To finish the season, what's the? It depends on your situation, but no, probably not.
I mean, if you want to win fantasy football, you certainly wouldn't. Right? You would pick Lamar. You'd pick.
Well, okay. If you've got everyone to pick from,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I'm saying if you're picking a quarterback, any quarterback, are you going to pick Mahomes?
Okay. No, absolutely not. Because statistically, he's not a great fantasy quarterback at this point in the season. But he is, he's
finding ways to help his team win.
Yeah, sure. But he's in the top 15. So if you're in a really deep league and you want somebody consistent, Patrick Mahomes is getting 14, 15 points a game. That's about as good as Bo Nix, maybe, or
Bo Nix has been doing better some weeks.
Some weeks, yeah.
I think the point I'm trying to make, he's a very good football player, right? He's clearly good at football. He's clearly good at helping his team win. The team is undefeated. But in terms of offensive points and production, that's not what that team does. That team has like a really amazing defense and then enough offense, whatever enough needs to be, right?
Well, it used to be the team that was like Travis Kelce scored 70 points, and now they're the team of squeaking by, which is crazy. Travis
Kelce is a low end tight end 1, maybe. Like maybe some weeks you wouldn't play him if you're in a 10
team. It's a strange shit. I mean, how many years ago was their Super Bowl? 3?
Last year and the year
No, I mean
before?
their first one.
They're currently on 2 in a row.
Okay, so 3. When I guessed 3 years ago, I was pretty close. It's just they seem like a team like the Patriots. You know how the Patriots seemed to get just older and older and older and score less and less and less points, and eventually they were just getting by on the fact that they were technically more sound than most teams and more practiced and more experienced, but they weren't lighting it up.
Yeah, and Tom Brady could still like throw a dime when he needed to, but he just didn't for 90% of the game.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. I mean, or his passes crept back in terms of distance, but they never crept back in terms of accuracy, really,
And that's exactly happening to Mahomes. Like you can go look at the what's the fancy deep analytics or whatever. Like Mahomes' depth of target is decreasing drastically.
Oh, by a lot, yeah. I mean, against the Broncos, even the depth of target was very short.
And it's happening across the league, though, to be fair. The long ball is not as prevalent as it was like the last couple seasons.
Unless you're Jared Goff.
Yeah, but how's that working out?
Currently has him below Patrick Mahomes in 17th place in fantasy.
I mean, Jameis Winston's still throwing it, but half the time it's to the other team. That just doesn't show up on the stats,
Well, he's only had one game to huck it.
I'm just saying
We'll
he's
see.
out there repping the long ball, you know.
If anyone can catch up in the interception count, it's Jameis.
Yeah,
Goff put up
I'd bet
5
on
in
that.
one game. That's really tough to beat.
I'd buy that for $1. I mean, and still win. I saw a very funny video. The internet still provides some entertainment. Where there was a flight full of people headed to or from Detroit, and the flight attendant kept coming on during the final kick and just trolling people like they were going to interrupt the final kick.
Very funny.
It was really good. It was really good. Oh my god. Well, that's a lot of sports, man.
Was it
a lot of
wise for us to talk about sports so much, Andy?
Oh, you want to switch over to that? I was gonna say I watched Thursday Night Football on Prime, and Prime owns Twitch, and I wanted to let you know that free on Twitch is Monster Train.
I'm gonna go. That's a good game. I played a bunch of that. I'm gonna go get that for free.
I'm telling everybody because it was really good. I 100%ed that game when it was on Xbox.
There's a bunch of DLC now out too, I think, for it.
What? Monster Train has DLC?
I think so.
No. I would go back for that. But I bet you the DLC is not included. What do you want to bet?
Probably not.
I don't want to bet because I'm confident that that's true.
I don't see DLC for this thing.
The last Divinity expansion.
Oh, there you go. I was in the Xbox app trying to figure it out. I did not 100% all the achievements for this game. So maybe there's a daily mode and a challenge mode for the game. That I never engaged with, so I did not.
I don't know how much it is on Xbox. The DLC is $12 on Steam.
It's all $12, but it's not free on Xbox anymore. So get ye the Steam copy, play it, and then decide later if you want that last Divinity expansion. What is it? What do they add? New challenges, more replayability, a new clan, higher difficulty. Not sure we need that. New huge final bosses. All right.
A new clan is basically like a whole new set
It's a whole new set of cards
to mix with all your other sets of cards too. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, I'm into that. New clan. New clan's probably worth playing. It's like if they added more decks or something to Balatro.
Or add another character class to Slay the Spire, right?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, it would be wise of you to download Monster Train for free. Echo.
Hello.
Mm-hmm. Let's do it. Michael, you ready to talk about Echoes of Wisdom?
Yeah, what you got?
There's a lot of mechanics in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like, they really want you to manage a lot of different things to do all at once. JJ, like holding items. There's a lot of stuff they teach you, and then they're just like, remember it. Like, I think we talked about in the past week of the hold on to an object and then move it around. Like when you can grab a monster with your little
the bind power or whatever.
I don't know. What's the beam from Ghostbusters called?
I think they call it bind in this.
Proton stream. Oh my god, my brain. Anyway, you get your proton stream and you grab the monster, and then you let your monsters kill that monster, and that's the like cool thing to do. Or you like see buried treasure chests, and you're like, I can pull on that if I use the tractor beam. That's a better reference in my book. It's tractor beam. That's what it's going to be from now on. If I tractor beam that chest and then pull on it, it'll pop out of the sand and I can open it or whatever, right? But there's also, do that and hold the right trigger while you hold the left trigger, and then you can target a thing, but then also hold on to the thing. So when the thing moves, you move instead of you moving the thing. I don't know if you followed that.
I know what you're talking about because I've played this game, but Michael probably is very confused.
I have seen just enough from videos to know that what it is you're talking about. You can switch whether you are the anchor point or whether you are anchored.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. And like, don't forget it or you can't figure out those puzzles.
Yeah, Andy, let me tell you that is a key mechanic throughout the whole game. Like, if you have no option but to not forget that.
Yeah. I know that there are more coming because my D-pad is not full. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's shortcuts. Like, the first extra skill we got was a summon, then it was the tractor beam, and then it was the sword, Michael.
Okay.
You want to just pick up Link's sword and be Link?
For a limited time.
For a limited time. You can use energy, I think is what the mechanic is called. Energy.
Yeah.
To transform and use a sword. I'm not sure if I like that or not. You need it for puzzles, but like it's not really that effective for fighting with. At least in its unleveled state, because this game has levels.
Mm-hmm.
You ever Link
to the Past did, if you want to go back far enough.
Yeah, you have to go back.
Yeah, the Master Sword had levels in that.
Yeah. So this has that. This has that built in. Again.
But you're leveling the sword. You're not leveling like
you don't level Zelda.
Yeah. So none of the echoes, none of those powers change.
There are levels for echoes, JJ.
Yes, I know what you're going to say.
Why does it not overwrite the old one?
You mean overwrite?
Like, why can I still select the one that's not as good?
Oh, sure. Yeah, like a higher level echo. I see what you're saying. Yeah. But that's not what I was talking about.
Oh, what were you talking about?
Have you leveled up Try?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I like that. So, Michael, your fairy companion, which is not a fairy in this because fairies jump in bottles and don't talk. But your companion in this one, did they ever give a name to their race or
not that I saw?
Whatever they are. Yeah. They're like this little trans-dimensional being that there are multiple of, but you have Try following you around, which is what gives you the power to summon echoes.
Okay.
You start off and Try has 3 mana.
He has 3 little little triangles that float off his head or whatever.
3 triangles, like a Triforce above Try's head. And then when you spend 1 or 2 or 3, they hover over the object that you summon. I leveled up Try, and now Try is quad.
Have you only gained 1 level so far?
Yeah. I'm messing around in the desert and the overworld, and I have not progressed past the first rift currently. But I've done a lot of overworld exploring. I've gotten a lot of the might crystals, and I've found a bunch of caves and stuff like pieces of heart and stamps and all those like just wandering around things. Ooh, what's under this rock? What's in this pond? What's, that kind of thing.
They give you a horse later that lets you explore all that stuff faster.
I'm glad to know that, but I'm
not going to stop. Can't stop.
I saw the ranch and I was like, that's going to be a whole thing because the ranch is always a whole thing. so I avoided it.
There's a mini game in there, of course, right?
Yeah, I did the mini game in the desert, and I did pretty well. Although I don't see how to get all 60. You'd have to like do some pre-planning and memorize the pattern or something to get all 60 of the strong mangoes or whatever they are. Thick mangoes, tough mangoes.
Yeah. I didn't like that one too much, I'll say. It's one of my least favorites of the mini games.
Yeah.
Although I eventually didn't do most of them because like they're completely unnecessary.
Yeah, crafting is interesting. Why can't I sort my potions that I made? Smoothies, I guess they call them.
Yeah, great question. I would love to know.
Like, I want to sort and put the ones that give me energy on the top instead of the ones that give me hearts, or the ones that give me fireproof, or the ones that,
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Odd to make that system and then not be able to sort it, but yeah.
Why does it take 15 presses to make a smoothie? Can't I just make 6 at once when I have like 15 of the same ingredient?
Yeah.
But no, apparently.
No, one at a time. So I have to listen to that dumb nut talk every 5 seconds.
Like the cooking animation in Breath of the Wild.
Yep.
Yeah. Probably just as bad. I don't know. I like establishing limitations at a certain point in the game. I guess I'm not far enough in to know that I've hit the point that I am upset that they added more mana to try. But at a certain point, you need to lock it down and be like, all right, you get 3 or you get 5 or you get whatever. And that's it. You got to figure out how to do the game on that,
I mean, I'll go ahead and tell you there's a limit, right? You can't just grow it infinitely.
Sure, of course not. But
you have to progress the main quest to get more of them, right? At certain points.
If I've got the summon thing, I've got the sword thing, I'm going to get more other powers. I've got this power, that power. It's just starting to get to be quite a bit already. And of like superfluous in my book powers, right? Like focus. Maybe the game needs a little more focus. I am very happy playing this game. I don't care about the things I'm saying that much. It's part of the game and it's still fun to play. I just I'm worried it's going to be a lot, and it's going to be like some stuff was just not necessary. I mean, we already know that there's 10 billion echoes, right? Like I now have 2 different types of beds.
Yeah, and one's better than the other.
Sure is. Yeah.
And one costs more little squares, so,
I guess so.
I mean, it's not an I guess so, that's just true.
Yeah.
But there's a reason you would use one over the other, right? Like the one square triangle, whatever thing is better for building.
Yeah.
Right? And the other one is better for sleeping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sleeping gives you hearts back. Because it makes sense, but
sure, yeah.
My favorite thing is that Zelda is like the most oblivious sleeper. You can go to sleep in the middle of a boss battle.
I have seen shots of that.
Well, it's crazy because they give you so many ways to get hearts and to not lose, right? Like if you fall off something, you don't lose any hearts. You just get replaced back at the top. If you have a fairy in a bottle and you lose all your hearts, the fairy will give you back all your hearts. Smoothies can give you so many hearts. I have smoothies that give me like 20 hearts. Yeah. I have 4 hearts.
Well, you can obviously get many more.
Sure, obviously that's why. But like, again, that's without even dropping the bed on the ground and climbing in it and sleeping and just waiting for the hearts to show up.
Yeah,
there's just like almost no way to die in the game.
Definitely not true.
I'm sure it's fine. The difficulty is not ramped up for me yet. I'm still having a great time. I love it.
Yeah,
I really do.
I think you should really progress some of the main quest stuff. Not that the overworld's not going anywhere; it'll still be there, and the game is going to force you to trek back and forth across it anyway.
Yeah. The issue is I'm trying to do it. I was trying to do it without a guide and without like a map and without all these things. So it's like, oh, I'm in this area. I need to now explore this area because I will forget and miss stuff, and then I won't know where it is or what I have or haven't done. So I just sort of methodical sweeping everything, you know. But
I mean, you definitely
maybe
don't
it doesn't
need a
matter.
guide. Like I didn't use one, and I think I did close to all the rifts. I don't know if I did everything.
I'm not worried
I
about
definitely
the
didn't get all the parts
I'm
and
not
stuff.
worried about missing rifts or anything, but it's one of those like I just, I was walking back through an area that I went through earlier and it was like, oh, there's a piece of heart over there that I didn't see, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, it's me controlling the urge to be a completionist. I shouldn't
Hey,
be,
you
and
you
that's
collect
okay.
those Korok seeds if that's what you want to do.
Might crystals for whatever reason that I need to upgrade the sword that I don't like.
Yeah, I mean, there will be other things to spend mic crystals on as you go on. So, you'll have to upgrade those instead if you like them better or not, I guess.
Yeah, true. True. My favorite thing to do in the game is to launch the Death Whirl plant and grab somebody with the tractor beam and walk them into the Death Whirl plant. It's so satisfying.
You're not far enough to have gotten my favorite echo, but I'm curious if you find it as amusing as I did.
Yeah. I found a lot of echoes I don't like. It's like, okay, I know that at some point in this game, you're going to make me use the Octorok for some puzzle. But
Did I ever use an Octorok? I don't know if I did.
oh, okay. Well, the game usually likes those things. Maybe a Deku shrub. I don't know.
I did have to use some of the ones, like the things that can light on fire or whatever. I had to use a bunch of those.
Oh, yeah.
You need fire
Of
a
course.
lot of times.
You sure do. I mean, there's no light arrow, but it's definitely a thing. The Switch Lite is pretty great. I wonder if I would get a wider field of view if I wasn't playing on there, but I doubt it. I'm guessing it's a locked field of view.
No, I don't know. No, it doesn't change.
I haven't noticed huge hitches on there, but I have noticed that the Switch Lite's battery life sucks. Like, very bad, especially
That
if you
doesn't surprise me too much.
especially if you leave it in like sleep mode. The next day it'll be down to like half battery. Not my favorite moment in the playing of the Switch Lite, but it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Did you guys get the email about Nintendo Music?
I think so.
The deafening silence there.
I was just trying to think back. I think I got an email about that.
I installed Nintendo Music. There's a lot of stuff on here that I would not have thought to like look up or find. Like, yo, here's the Wii Sports soundtrack. All of pretty much every Zelda game. But the cool thing that I found in there is they have like extended playback collections. So I guess that they extended the tracks or they loop the tracks. I don't know what that is. I don't know. Fascinating that they were like, hey, why don't we give people with Nintendo Online access to music so they stop playing it on YouTube?
But like, they didn't even put everything, right? It's like,
oh no, why would they?
Here's
It's
a
Nintendo.
tiny selection of Nintendo things, and like you can listen to the music, but it's like not all the stuff you want from all the franchises.
It wouldn't be Nintendo if it wasn't halfway completed.
Like if I want to listen to, Super Mario World tracks, they ain't on there. Like, what the heck?
Oh, and also the interface looks like no one's even seen a music app in the last 10 years. It's like somebody like took snapshots of YouTube from 2009. And they're like, that's what people want to see when they play the songs.
They looked at the first version of iTunes and were like, this is peak.
Probably. I mean, I'm a big defender of old iTunes, but peak iTunes was not the first iTunes. Yeah. It's
I mean,
I'm gonna
Andy,
keep an eye on it. Yeah.
are you getting Alarmo though?
Is it sad when you're is I hope she listens to this part. Is it sad when your wife says, I am probably gonna get you that Alarmo because it has because it has a feature that can tell if you stay in bed and it will keep going off.
And it harasses you.
Yeah. I'm like, that's
So
being a child in a whole different way, isn't it?
the thing that I saw about the Alarmo is that it doesn't work if you have two people in the bed. So the
Oh,
joke
really?
was
No.
the joke was Nintendo made an alarm clock that only works if you're single.
Oh no. Nintendo, what are you doing?
No.
That's hilarious.
Because it has like motion tracking stuff going on, but if there's two people
Yeah.
in the bed, it confuses it apparently.
That's hilarious. I guess you could probably like turn it or do something to
I mean,
adjust it.
maybe you fix it by your
Yeah.
significant other gets up earlier than you, and then
Yeah.
it works at that point or something. I don't know. I am not here. Anyway, I have no interest in Alarmo, but it looks so stupid.
I hate the screen design. The rest of the design of it, actually, Michael, you'll eventually get used to this. Is very similar to children's alarm clocks. It looks almost identical to one of the old alarm clocks we used to have for the kids.
Okay.
But the screen design is just so horrendous. Like, why is there a male icon? Like, what? Why does the kid care if it's connected to Wi-Fi? The time only takes up about 1/10 of the screen, and then it's almost the same size as the alarm time that's also displayed on the screen. Again, it looks like they looked at an alarm clock from 15 years ago and said, this is peak.
Just a lot of very bizarre UX choices.
The screen is like a little square in the middle of the
Inside
big black
the circle.
So you get a big black circle with a little square in the middle.
We have a children's clock that is a circle, and they have a circular screen on it, and it costs 1/3 of this amount of money.
Well, yeah, you can't make Mario coin noises with it, right?
Oh, Alarmo. Oh. Oh, man. I think, speaking of being woken up, I wonder if people will wake up to something. I don't know that if I need you guys to watch this movie to tell me if I'm wrong. But I may have seen the first movie, if not written by AI, then at least written by the algorithm.
What'd you watch?
Rebel Ridge.
Rebel Ridge. I feel like I saw a trailer for that. Who's in it?
It's gonna sound bad. I don't know. I know the bad guy in the movie. That's the only person I've ever seen act before that is in this film. Is that a bad thing?
Oh, I have seen the trailer for this. Yeah,
it seemed good.
Don Johnson is the bad guy.
Okay, yeah, no,
y'all know Don Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Pierre. I don't know who Aaron Pierre is. I don't know if he's in something that I should know. I don't think so. Apparently, he might be Blade or in the Blade film. That's all I know about him. There's a lot of lines that were in there where some character would say two idioms in the same sentence that mean the same thing.
That's not good.
Okay.
It felt like someone learned how like a lot of things in the police department are legal, and they said, well, that's not fair. We should make a movie about that, and then turned it into almost Rambo, but not.
I was going to say, when I watched the trailer, I got a definite Walking Tall vibe from it.
Very much Walking Tall. yes. But Walking Tall has the decency to be half the length of this movie.
Oh dear.
Good Lord.
And have a plot that takes a heck of a lot less time to develop, which is, this one's not any more complicated. Again, it's like someone read about a bunch of things that the police department can do, like civil asset forfeiture, and they're like, that should be illegal. That's not fair. And like the fact that police departments can rent their equipment to other police departments is like, oh man, that's not cool. It's like, none of this is illegal or whatever. And they're like, well, what if Don Johnson was really slimy about it? Then it would be illegal. It's like, all right, you know, the main character like doesn't want to use guns, but also like picks them up all the time and then doesn't use them. It's very odd. The movie's very odd. It's getting very good reviews. Like even the design of the people and the characters and their stories, and like there's a whole subplot about a courthouse employee and her fight to win her kid back, and none of it is quite a mess, but it certainly feels like it's didn't get trimmed at any point because the computer said we needed all these parts. The computer says this, the computer says that. We were watching Barry the other day, and they made a joke about the algorithms. Like, if somebody sees a dessert eaten in the first 3 minutes, they'll finish the entire season of the show. And yours doesn't have it, so you're canceled.
I watched Bad Boys for Life instead and had an okay time.
At least the lines in that probably make some sense instead of people repeating things multiple times in the movie. And
They do,
like acting surprised every time they hear it.
Martin Lawrence
Like, this
does repeat
person-
himself quite a bit, but you knew he was going to do that.
Hold on. That's his
part
thing,
of the
though.
shtick, though, right?
Yeah, that's his thing, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was I'm not saying it was surprising. I'm just stating a fact. Well, you don't need to watch Bad Boys for Life. It just seemed like they took those other movies and they're like, which pieces of these can we airlift into this other movie? But they're older now, so they can't be as crazy.
So it's the Axel F movie.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. That's too bad.
I mean, I had an enjoyable time.
Yeah,
Also
let us know
on,
what you've. I was going to say, let us know what you've seen recently that is not worth the time.
Oh yeah, I want to be very clear. I don't know why Rebel Ridge is getting such good reviews. It seems a little bit of a mess. The acting's fine, but I would not use time on it, despite my fascination with how it was made. 2 hours and 10 minutes. Oh my god.
You know what I liked actually, though? You guys see that movie Palm Springs?
Palm Springs.
No.
Andy Samberg joint?
Oh, I have been on Andy Samberg. I've been watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine basically nonstop.
There's a romantic comedy with him and a girl whose name I can't remember. It's very funny. I enjoyed it. I had a good time.
Kristen Milioti.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, I really like her.
From How I Met Your Mother.
And other things, yeah.
Is that what she's from?
Yes.
Anyway,
Well,
she's in the
she's
Penguin.
currently in Penguin. Yeah. Yeah. J.K. Simmons. Nice.
Yeah, J.K. Simmons, dude. This is what I was going to say.
Whiplash Part 2.
J.K. Simmons is so good in this.
Bender.
It is like one of the silliest things. But yeah, Palm Springs, check that out. That's actually good.
I mean, it's on Hulu, so that sounds like something I could go do right now.